All right, let's dive in. Today, we're tearing into a really fascinating institutional strategy report. Now, on the surface, the market looks absolutely incredible, but what's going on underneath? Well, that's what we're here to figure out.
I mean, you can practically hear the champagne corks popping on Wall Street. The S&P 500 is completely smashed through the 7,000 mark for the first time in history. The Nasdaq, it's on a 12-day winning streak, its longest run since 2017. It really feels like this party is never going to end. But that's the big question, isn't it? Because behind all these euphoric headlines, this report we're digging into reveals some deep, structural issues that have the top strategists out there really, really worried. This whole celebration might be built on a foundation that's, well, incredibly fragile. So, what in the world is fueling this record-breaking run? The report has a great name for it, a party on a volcano. And it's a party built almost entirely on one single thing, a huge wave of relief from geopolitical tensions. The market is just aggressively pricing in a permanent peace deal in the Middle East, and that has changed the entire game. And the speed of this shift is it's stunning. Based on just a few comments that the conflict was very close to over, the market just completely dropped its geopolitical risk concerns. The entire conversation literally pivoted overnight from the fear of war to a laser focus back on corporate earnings. Okay, but when you start to peel back that first layer of good news, you find a very, very confusing picture when it comes to inflation. It's like it's telling two completely different stories at the exact same time. So on one hand, you've got this surface level relief. Core CPI, right? That's the one that strips out the volatile food and energy stuff. It came in low, mostly because used car prices fell. And that's the number everyone wants to celebrate. But on the other hand, there is some serious underlying pressure. Headline CPI, which is what we all actually pay, jumped up thanks to energy costs. And even more importantly, the number the Fed really watches, this thing called supercore inflation, which tracks services and wages, is still running scorching hot at 4.6%. This mess in the data means even the experts are completely split down the middle. You've got Morgan Stanley over here saying, don't worry, the Fed will look right through that energy spike and cut rates anyway. But then you have JP Morgan arguing that with an economy this strong, there is just no way the Fed can cut. And right now, the market is betting everything on the optimists at Morgan Stanley being right. So if the inflation picture is that messy, what's actually powering this market rally? Well, the report argues the answer is liquidity, the cash just sloshing around the system. But there's a huge, huge problem brewing right under the surface. So to understand this, we need to talk about the TGA. The easiest way to think about it is like the government's giant checking account. When the government collects taxes or sells bonds, the balance in this account goes up. And when it does, it acts like a giant vacuum cleaner, just sucking money right out of the private banking system. Now, to counteract that giant vacuum cleaner, the Fed has a tool called the RRP, the reverse repo facility. And for the last couple of years, this thing has been acting like a giant shock absorber, pumping cash back into the system whenever the TGA sucked too much out. It's basically been the market's hidden safety net. And this slide right here is where the danger is. The government's vacuum cleaner, the TGA, is sucking in a massive $780 billion, but the safety net, the RRP, is now effectively empty. I mean, it's gone from over $2 trillion down to basically zero. The shock absorber has completely vanished. So this raises a massive question. How can the market possibly be hitting all-time highs? If it's engine oil, its liquidity is being drained away with absolutely no safety net left. Well, the first part of the answer is that this isn't some broad, healthy rally. It is dangerously concentrated. Get this, just 10 mega-cap tech stocks now make up an incredible 41% of the entire value of the S&P 500. The entire market is basically being held up by a tiny handful of giants. And the second part of the answer, according to this report, is even more troubling. This rally isn't being driven by investors getting all excited about the future and buying up stocks. No, it's being driven by something called short covering. This is a technical thing where investors who bet against the market are being forced to buy back shares to close their losing positions. It mechanically pushes prices higher, whether the company is doing well or not. Yeah, it's a purely mechanical effect. Think of it like a powerful magnet. The options market has created what's known as a call wall around the 7,100 level. And what that means is there are so many bets that the market will stay above this level that it creates this force that just pulls the index upward, no matter what's happening in the real economy. This isn't a rally based on strength, it's a rally based on market plumbing. So let's recap. You've got a market being pulled up by a handful of stocks and weird technical forces, all while its core liquidity is vanishing. Given this incredibly fragile structure, the report lays out two starkly different paths for what could happen next.
Okay, scenario A, the bull case, is that this can all keep going, but only if that tiny handful of mega-cap tech companies deliver absolutely flawless earnings that prove all their massive AI spending is paying off. The bear case, scenario B, is that the liquidity drain we just talked about finally starts to bite, the system seizes up, and a break below 6,700 on the S&P triggers a waterfall of selling.
But the report saves its biggest, most serious warning for last. The ultimate tail risk, the black swan event that nobody is pricing in, is this. With that RRP shock absorber now gone, the liquidity drain could cause the shadow banking system to just freeze. This would force a massive, panicked deleveraging, leading to a sell-off in everything. Stocks, bonds, commodities, all at the exact same time. And this quote just brilliantly captures the report's final chilling takeaway. While the entire market is cheering on earnings and good news about geopolitics, the real danger is the silent disappearance of liquidity, a danger the market seems to be completely ignoring. And the question this report leaves us with is, for how much longer?